Don't go out.
She grabbed his suit in the middle of the lobby, hard enough to stop him, and whispered a warning that wasn't meant to save him. Security was already moving. The car was waiting outside, and someone powerful had decided he wouldn't leave alive. The only question was whether trusting the maid would kill him faster than walking away. Carla's hand grabbed onto the front of Galeazzo Ferri's suit jacket. Not gently, not apologetically. Hard enough that the expensive fabric bunched between her knuckles. Hard enough to pull his attention down. Down from the lobby. Down from his security. Down to her face. "Don't go to your car," she whispered. Her mouth barely moved. Her body angled like she was about to confess something romantic. Something reckless. But her voice was ice. "There's something in it. Kiss me or they'll know I told you." His eyes sharpened. Dark. Unreadable. Dangerous in the way still water is dangerous. Then his hand came up, slow, controlled, and curled around the back of her neck. Warm. Steady. Like he'd done this 1,000 times. Like she wasn't a maid. Like she was his. And 3 seconds later, outside the glass doors, a car door slammed. Voices rose. Footsteps scattered. Something had gone wrong. And Galeazzo Ferri hadn't walked into it. What would you do if you knew someone was about to be silenced forever? Would you find the courage to step in like Carla did, or would you walk away? Tell us in the comments. If this story pulled you in, you're not alone. Take a second to subscribe, and tell us where you're listening from. Every bit of support helps this channel keep these stories alive. Now, let's return to what happens next. It was 4:47 p.m. on a Thursday. The kind of afternoon where sunlight sliced through the Hotel Bellariva's glass atrium and turned everything into staged perfection. Polished marble that smelled faintly of lemon oil and wealth. The quiet hum of money, so old it didn't need to announce itself. Just existed. Like oxygen. Like gravity. Carla Fiorentino had been invisible here for 2 years. Gray uniform. Soft-soled shoes. Head down. Hands busy. The kind of woman guests looked through, not at. Which was exactly why she'd survived this long. And exactly why she heard things other people missed. Galeazzo Ferri didn't walk through the lobby. He moved through it. Like the air rearranged itself to let him pass. Mid-30s. Tailored charcoal suit that fit like it had been built around him, not bought off a rack. Dark hair swept back. Sharp jaw. The kind of face that looked carved, not born. He carried his phone in one hand. His jacket in the other. No visible tension. No rush. Just absolute control. Men like him, men whose last names traveled with warnings instead of introductions, didn't acknowledge service staff. Carla had learned that her first week. Had learned to read the microshifts in posture that meant mood. Had learned which guests were simply rich. And which ones were dangerous. Galeazzo Ferri was both. Carla had spent years perfecting a skill no one applauded. Reading rooms. Reading people. Reading the space between what was said and what was meant. It wasn't a gift. It was survival. A language she'd learned in a place where missing a signal could cost you everything. Where invisible was safe. Where quiet was smart. And where knowing when to run was the only skill that mattered. She didn't work at the Bellariva because she loved luxury. She worked here because no one looked at maids. And Carla Fiorentino had built her entire life on not being seen. That's when she saw it. Through the glass revolving door. In the reflection of the lobby lights against the dimming coastal sky outside. A man in hotel uniform. Black jacket. White gloves. Standing beside the idling black sedan. But his posture was wrong. Too alert. Too still. Hotel drivers waited with relaxed shoulders and lowered chins. This man stood like he was on a countdown. And then he checked his watch. Not casually. Deliberately. With his left hand. While his right stayed inside his jacket. Carla's breath caught in her throat. Her heart slammed. Not panic. Recognition. She'd seen that posture before. In another life. In another country. In a place where men checked their watches to synchronize. Not to tell time. Her pulse didn't race. It went cold. Methodical. The way it used to when she had 30 seconds to decide between compliance and escape. Her father had been a private security. For a mafia before. And Carla had learned young to spot the difference between a man waiting for orders and a man waiting for a target. She already knew the car was a ticking bomb waiting to explode. The vehicle was a trap, and Galeazzo Ferry was 3 steps from walking into it. Carla didn't think. Thinking was what got people killed. She moved, stepped into his path, grabbed his suit, and made a choice that would destroy every carefully invisible day she'd survived to build. Because Galeazzo Ferry wasn't supposed to leave that hotel alive. And Carla Fiorentino had just become the only person standing between him and whoever wanted him dead. Galeazzo didn't let go of her hand. Not immediately. Not even when his security stepped closer, eyes sharp, bodies angled like they were deciding whether Carla was a threat or a distraction. He just held her wrist. Firm. Steady. Then he turned and walked. And because his hand was still wrapped around hers, Carla had no choice but to follow. They didn't go toward the lobby. They went the other way. Toward the service corridor. The one staff used to move linens and luggage and all the invisible machinery that kept luxury running smoothly. Carla's legs felt strange beneath her. Like they belonged to someone else. Like adrenaline had been the only thing holding her upright. And now that it was draining, her body was remembering it was supposed to be afraid. Her hands started shaking. Not obviously. Just a fine tremor that she couldn't stop. Galeazzo noticed. She could tell by the way his grip shifted. Not tighter. Just more deliberate. Like he was anchoring her. Behind them, one of his men spoke. Low voice. Clipped Italian. Galeazzo answered without turning around. 2 words. Quiet. Absolute. The man stopped talking. That was the first thing Carla understood about Galeazzo Ferry's power. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. His authority sat in the silence after he spoke, in the way grown men obeyed without question, without hesitation. They passed through a narrow hallway that smelled like industrial detergent and old carpet. One of the security team moved ahead to open the door at the end. He was younger than the others. Clean-cut. Efficient. Too eager. Carla's stomach tightened. The man smiled at Galeazzo as he held the door. Not the controlled, professional expression she'd seen on the other guards. This smile reached his eyes. Like he was pleased. Like he knew something. Carla's pulse spiked. She didn't say anything. Couldn't. Not without proof. Not without sounding paranoid. But she filed it away. The smile. The eagerness. The way he positioned himself just a little too close to the exit route. Men who wanted to help didn't smile like that. Men who wanted credit did. They stepped outside into a narrow alley that ran along the back of the hotel. No guests. No cameras. Just dumpsters and delivery vans and the smell of salt water mixing with exhaust. A car was waiting. Not the black sedan from the front entrance. This one was older. A dark blue Audi. Unremarkable. The kind of car that wouldn't get a second glance in any coastal town from here to Genoa. Galeazzo opened the back door himself. No driver. No ceremony. He looked at Carla, then gestured. She hesitated. Getting into that car meant crossing a line she couldn't uncross. It meant stepping out of invisibility and into something she didn't have a name for yet. Galeazzo's voice was quiet. Calm. Almost gentle. You can walk away, he said. Right now. No one will stop you. Carla looked back at the hotel. At the glass doors. At the life she'd built from silence and discipline and the small, invisible safety of being no one. Then she looked at Galeazzo. At the man she'd just saved. At the kind of danger that didn't announce itself with threats but with the cold efficiency of people who made problems disappear. She got in the car. Galeazzo slid in beside her. Pulled the door shut. One of his men took the driver's seat. The engine started. No conversation. No explanation. They just drove. Carla pressed her hands together in her lap to stop the shaking. It didn't work. Galeazzo noticed. He didn't touch her. Didn't offer empty comfort. He just reached into the compartment between the seats and pulled out a bottle of water. Opened it. Handed it to her. Carla took it. Her throat was dry. She hadn't realized until now. She drank. And Galeazzo watched the road, his profile sharp against the fading daylight, his expression unreadable. After 10 minutes of silence, his phone vibrated. Once. Twice. He pulled it out. Read the screen. His jaw tightened. Just barely. But Carla saw it. He turned the phone toward her. No words. Just the message. A short line of text in Italian. Carla's Italian wasn't perfect, but she understood enough. Exit confirmed. Timing exact. Internal access verified. Her breath caught. Galeazzo's voice was flat. They knew when I was leaving. Carla swallowed. Down to the minute. He nodded. Looked out the window. That kind of precision doesn't come from surveillance. It comes from proximity. Carla's chest tightened. She understood what he wasn't saying. The trap hadn't been set by strangers. It had been set by people close enough to know his schedule. His routes. His habits. People who had access. People he trusted. Or was supposed to. Sometimes the worst betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people who know your routine well enough to time your end to the second. Galeazzo's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, then went very still. Carla leaned closer without thinking. On the screen was a photograph. Grainy. Slightly blurred. But clear enough. It showed the hotel lobby. The glass revolving door. And Carla. Her hand gripping the front of Galeazzo's suit. Her face turned up toward his. Their bodies close. Intimate. Dangerous. Beneath the image, a single line of text. In English this time. Find the maid. Carla's stomach dropped. Not because she didn't expect consequences, but because she'd hoped, foolishly, desperately, that maybe no one had seen. That maybe she could fade back into invisible. Galeazzo's hand tightened around the phone. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. They're not looking for a witness, he said. Carla's throat closed. She knew what that meant. A witness could be silenced. Discredited. Ignored. But the caption didn't say, find the witness. It said, find the maid. Like she was a piece. A tool. Something to be acquired. Or removed. Galeazzo turned to look at her. Really look. And for the first time, Carla saw something she didn't expect in his eyes. Not anger. Not suspicion. Guilt. I'm sorry, he said. Carla blinked. For what? For this. He gestured at the phone. At the photograph. At the nightmare she'd just been pulled into by choosing to save him. You tried to help me, he said. And now you're a target. Carla's hands were still shaking. But her voice came out steady. Stronger than she expected. I made the choice, she said. No one forced me. Galeazzo studied her. Like he was trying to decide if she meant it. Or if she was just brave enough to lie. Why? He asked. It was a simple question. But the weight behind it wasn't simple at all. Carla looked down at her hands. At the uniform she still wore. At the invisible life she'd worked so hard to build. Then she looked back at him. Because I know what it's like, she said quietly. To be told you're not supposed to survive the day. Something shifted in Galeazzo's expression. Not pity. Recognition. He didn't ask her to explain. Didn't push. He just nodded once. Like he understood. Like maybe in some way she didn't fully know yet. They were the same. The car turned onto a smaller road. Trees on both sides now. No streetlights. Just the hum of the engine and the sound of Carla's heartbeat in her ears. She didn't know where they were going. Didn't know what came next. But she knew one thing for certain. She wasn't invisible anymore. And there was no going back. They crossed the border just after nightfall. No fanfare. No checkpoint drama. Just a smooth transition from Italian coastal highway to French Riviera, marked only by a change in road signs and the subtle shift in how the city smelled. Less salt. More money. Monaco appeared like a postcard someone had accidentally made real. Tight streets. Clean lines. Buildings that climbed the hillside like they were trying to escape the sea. Everything polished. Everything controlled. The kind of place where even the air felt expensive. Carla pressed her forehead against the window and watched the lights blur past. She hadn't spoken in over an hour. Neither had Galeazzo. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It was careful. Like both of them were too tired to perform anything other than quiet. The car turned down a narrow street that didn't look like it belonged to tourists. No restaurants. No boutiques. Just residential buildings with tall gates and security cameras tucked discreetly into corners. They stopped in front of one. Unmarked. Unremarkable. The kind of building people walked past without noticing. Galeazzo got out first. Held the door. Carla stepped onto the pavement, legs stiff from sitting, heart still running on fumes and adrenaline she couldn't shake. Inside, the building was quiet. Almost too quiet. Marble floors that didn't echo. Soft lighting that didn't glare. No lobby staff. No security desk. Just a private elevator and a keypad Galeazzo unlocked with a 6-digit code he didn't bother hiding from her. The elevator rose smoothly. Carla counted floors in her head. 4, 5, 6. It stopped. The doors opened into a hallway that led to a single door. Galeazzo unlocked it. Stepped aside. Gestured for her to enter first. Carla hesitated. Then walked in. The apartment was nothing like she expected. No gold fixtures. No marble statues. No oversized chandeliers. It was clean. Minimal. A living space designed for function, not performance. Soft gray walls. Low furniture. Wide windows that overlooked the harbor, where yachts sat like sleeping giants under strings of white light. It felt more like a hiding place than a home. And maybe that's exactly what it was. Galeazzo closed the door behind them. Locked it. Then turned to face her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Carla stood in the center of the room, hands clasped in front of her, still wearing her gray maid's uniform, still feeling like she didn't belong. Luxury had always felt like a trap to her. A beautiful cage. The kind of place where you were invited in, then told you couldn't leave. Galeazzo seemed to sense it. He didn't move closer. Didn't crowd her. He walked to the kitchen instead, filled a glass with water from the tap, and brought it to her. Set it on the table between them. Not in her hand. On the table. Giving her the choice to take it. Carla looked at the glass. Then at him. He met her gaze. Steady. Tired. Human in a way she hadn't expected. Then he said something that changed everything. You don't have to stay. Carla blinked. Galeazzo continued, voice low and deliberate. I can arrange a flight. Tonight. New identity. Enough money to disappear somewhere they'll never find you. He paused. You helped me. I owe you that much. Carla's throat tightened. And if I stay? Galeazzo's jaw tensed. If you stay, you become leverage. He didn't sugarcoat it. Didn't soften the truth. People will use you to get to me. They'll threaten you. Watch you. Maybe worse. He looked out the window, toward the harbor, toward the dark water that stretched beyond the lights. I can protect you, he said. But I can't make you invisible again. The weight of the choice settled over Carla like a heavy coat. She could leave. Right now. Walk away from Galeazzo Ferry and everything that came with him. Take the money. Take the new name. Disappear into another city, another country, another version of invisible. It's what she'd done before. It's what had kept her alive. But running only works if you believe the threat won't follow, and Carla had learned the hard way that some dangers don't respect borders. She looked at Galeazzo, at the man who had just offered her freedom without asking for anything in return. Most powerful men didn't do that. Most men took, controlled, demanded loyalty and called it protection. But Galeazzo was giving her a choice. A real one. And that made all the difference. Carla exhaled slowly. I'll stay, she said. Galeazzo's eyes sharpened. Don't do it out of guilt. I'm not. She stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough that he could see she meant it. If I leave, she said, I'll spend the rest of my life running. Again. Her voice steadied. I'm tired of running. Galeazzo studied her, like he was reading between the lines of what she wasn't saying. Then he nodded once. If you stay, he said, we do this on your terms. Carla's heart skipped. What does that mean? It means no lies between us, Galeazzo said. No using you as bait. No decisions made for you. He paused. And no pretending you're anything other than exactly who you are. Carla's chest tightened. She wasn't used to being seen. And Galeazzo Ferry was looking at her like she mattered. Not as a tool. Not as a liability. As a person. Rules, she said quietly. Galeazzo tilted his head. Rules. If I'm staying, we need boundaries. She lifted her chin. Privacy. Safety protocols. I'm not a prisoner, and I'm not a decoration. Galeazzo's mouth almost curved. Almost. Agreed, he said. And no coercion, Carla added. I need to know I can leave. Anytime. Galeazzo's expression softened. Just a fraction. You can, he said. I won't stop you. The promise hung in the air between them. Solid. Real. And for the first time since Carla had grabbed his suit in that hotel corridor, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Not because Galeazzo was powerful, but because he was giving her control. She reached for the glass of water on the table. Took a sip. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Galeazzo watched her. Then he spoke again. Quieter this time. Can I ask you something? Carla nodded. Why did you really stay? Carla set the glass down. Looked at him. At the exhaustion in his eyes. At the weight he carried like it was stitched into his bones. Because you didn't have to offer me a way out, she said. But you did. She paused. And that told me more about who you are than anything else could. Galeazzo's gaze held hers. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then he said something she didn't expect. I'm tired. Carla frowned. Of what? Of being feared, Galeazzo said. His voice was barely above a whisper. Of walking into rooms and watching people decide I'm a threat before I've said a word. He looked away. I didn't choose this name. This legacy. This weight. His hands flexed. But I've spent my whole life trying not to become the monster everyone expects. Carla's throat tightened. She understood that. More than he knew. The exhaustion of performing strength. Of being something you never asked to be. Of surviving by becoming invisible, or invincible, or anything other than soft. You're not a monster, Carla said quietly. Galeazzo's eyes flicked back to hers. How do you know? Because monsters don't get tired of being feared, she said. They enjoy it. The words settled between them like a truth neither of them had said out loud before. Galeazzo didn't respond. He didn't need to. Carla saw it in his face. The relief. The recognition. The quiet, dangerous hope that maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to carry this alone anymore. And then his phone buzzed. Sharp. Insistent. Galeazzo's expression shifted. He pulled the phone from his pocket. Looked at the screen. His jaw tightened. Carla's stomach dropped. What is it? She asked. Galeazzo didn't answer immediately. He just stared at the name on the screen. Then he turned the phone toward her. One word. Mama. Carla's pulse spiked. Galeazzo's thumb hovered over the screen. Then he answered. Put it on speaker. A woman's voice came through. Smooth. Controlled. Cold in the way only mothers who've weaponized love can be. Galeazzo. Mama. A pause. Then the voice again. Softer now. But no less dangerous. We need to talk. Galeazzo's mother didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her words came through the phone like surgical cuts. Precise. Controlled. Designed to leave scars you wouldn't notice until later. You left without notice, she said. Galeazzo's jaw tightened. I left because staying would have been a mistake. A pause. Then a soft, humorless laugh. A mistake, his mother repeated. Is that what we're calling survival now? Carla stood near the window, far enough to give Galeazzo space, close enough to hear every word. She watched his posture, the way his shoulders locked, the way his free hand curled into a fist, then released. This wasn't a conversation. It was a performance. And Galeazzo knew his lines by heart. I'm handling it, he said. Handling it, his mother echoed. By running to Monaco with a woman no one vetted? Carla's breath caught. Galeazzo's eyes flicked to her. Brief. Apologetic. Then back to the phone. She saved my life, he said quietly. And now she's a liability. The words landed like stones. Cold. Final. His mother continued without missing a beat. Your sister believes you've been compromised. Galeazzo's expression darkened. My sister has been positioning herself for months. She's concerned. She's ambitious. Another pause. Longer this time. When his mother spoke again, her voice had shifted. Softer. Almost tender. That made it worse. Galeazzo, she said. You were raised for this. Trained for it. The family doesn't survive on compassion. It survives on control. Galeazzo closed his eyes. Just for a second. And what happens when control becomes indistinguishable from fear? He asked. His mother's answer was immediate. Then people stay in line. Carla's stomach turned. She'd heard that logic before. In a different language. From different men. But the shape of it was always the same. Power justified by order. Cruelty dressed up as discipline. Galeazzo exhaled slowly. I'm not interested in ruling through fear, Mama. Then you're not interested in ruling. The line went quiet. Not dead. Just waiting. Then a new voice cut in. Younger. Sharper. Female. Galeazzo. His sister. Carla didn't know her name yet, but she could hear everything she needed to in the tone. Confident. Calculated. The voice of someone who'd been waiting for this moment. Julia, Galeazzo said flatly. You sound tired, Julia said. Maybe it's time to come home. I'm exactly where I need to be. Julia laughed. Light. Dismissive. With a maid. Carla's hands curled into fists at her sides. Galeazzo's voice went cold. Careful. I'm only saying what everyone's thinking, Julia continued. You left in the middle of a crisis. You're hiding in Monaco with a stranger. And now people are asking questions. Let them ask. They're not asking you, Galeazzo. They're asking me. There it was. The real move. Carla watched Galeazzo's face. Saw the realization settle in. His sister wasn't calling to check on him. She was calling to announce she'd already started filling the vacuum his absence created. Sometimes betrayal doesn't wait for permission. It just steps into the space you leave behind and calls it leadership. You moved without approval, Galeazzo said quietly. Julia didn't deny it. I moved because someone had to. That's not how this works. It is now. Carla heard his mother's voice again, cutting through. Enough. Both siblings went silent. The matriarch's authority was absolute. Even over the phone. Even across borders. Galeazzo, she said. You have 48 hours to clarify your position. My position is clear. Then make it public, his mother said. Or your sister will do it for you. The call ended. No goodbye. No pleasantries. Just the sudden, heavy silence of a conversation that had reshaped everything. Galeazzo set the phone down on the table. Slowly. Carefully. Like it might explode. Then he turned and walked to the window. Stared out at the harbor. At the lights reflecting off the water. At the world that looked so calm from a distance. Carla didn't move. Didn't speak. She just watched him. Watched the way his shoulders rose and fell with each breath. Watched the way his hands pressed flat against the glass, like he was trying to hold something together that kept threatening to fall apart. Finally, she spoke. Your sister's making a play. Galeazzo nodded. She's been making it for months, he said. I just didn't want to see it. And your mother? My mother doesn't take sides, Galeazzo said. She waits to see who wins. Then she backs them. Carla's chest tightened. That's not a family. Galeazzo's laugh was bitter. No, he said. It's a dynasty. He turned to face her. In my family, blood doesn't mean loyalty. It means proximity to power. His voice dropped. And power is the only thing that matters. Carla stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough that he could feel she was there. You don't believe that, she said. Galeazzo's eyes met hers. Tired. Conflicted. I was raised to believe it. That's not the same thing. He stared at her. Like he was trying to decide if she was naive. Or if she saw something in him he'd forgotten was there. I tried to do it differently, Galeazzo said quietly. I tried to build structures. Agreements. Systems that didn't depend on fear. He paused. They called it weakness. Carla's throat tightened. It's not weakness to want people to follow you because they trust you, she said. Not because they're terrified. Galeazzo's gaze didn't waver. In my world, trust gets you killed. So does fear, Carla countered. Eventually, the truth of it hung between them. Galeazzo looked away first. Back to the window. Back to the water. My mother's right about one thing, he said. Compassion makes you predictable. Carla's voice was soft but firm. And cruelty makes you alone. Galeazzo went still. She continued. You could rule through fear. You could become exactly what they expect. She stepped closer. But you'd lose yourself in the process. Galeazzo turned. Looked at her. Really looked. And you think that matters? He asked. Carla held his gaze. I think it's the only thing that does. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Galeazzo's phone buzzed again. Not a call this time. A message. He glanced at the screen. His expression shifted. From exhaustion to alarm. He turned the phone toward Carla. The message was short. From a contact labeled only with initials. Address flagged. Inquiry traced to Reggio. Someone's looking. Carla's pulse spiked. What does that mean? Galeazzo's jaw tightened. It means someone found this location. He looked at her. Or got close enough to try. Carla's stomach dropped. How? Only a few people know about this place, Galeazzo said. Family. Close allies. He paused. And now someone's leaking. The weight of it settled over the room like smoke. Not just betrayal from outside. Betrayal from inside. From someone close enough to know where Galeazzo hid when the world got too dangerous. Carla's mind raced. She thought about the phone call. About Julia's confidence. About the mother's cold calculation. About the way power worked in families like this. Your sister, Carla said quietly. Galeazzo didn't answer. But his silence was confirmation enough. He walked to the far side of the room. Pulled open a drawer. Retrieved a second phone. Unlocked it. Typed something fast. Then set it down. We're moving, he said. Carla's heart jumped. Where? I don't know yet, Galeazzo said. But staying here is no longer safe. He looked at her. And for the first time, Carla saw something she hadn't seen before. Not just exhaustion. Not just conflict. Resolve. They want me predictable, Galeazzo said. So I'm going to stop playing by their rules. Carla's breath steadied. She didn't know what came next. Didn't know where they'd go. Or how long they could stay ahead of people who had resources, reach, and family loyalty on their side. But she knew one thing. Galeazzo wasn't running anymore. He was choosing a different kind of fight. And Carla realized, standing there in the quiet of a Monaco safe house that was no longer safe, that she wasn't just staying because she had nowhere else to go. She was staying because, for the first time in years, she'd met someone who was trying to be better than the world that made him. And that was worth protecting. Even if it meant walking straight into the fire. They didn't leave Monaco that night. Galeazzo made calls instead. Quiet. Controlled. In Italian, too fast for Carla to follow completely, but slow enough that she caught the shape of it. He was moving pieces. Rerouting information. Creating noise to hide signal. Carla sat on the edge of the sofa, hands folded in her lap, watching him work. This was a different version of Galeazzo. Not the exhausted man who'd admitted he was tired of being feared. This was the strategist. The heir. The man who'd been trained since childhood to see 3 moves ahead. He finished the last call. Set the phone down. Looked at her. We have until morning, he said. Carla nodded. And then we'd disappear differently. He didn't elaborate. Carla didn't push. She trusted that he had a plan. Or at least the skeleton of one. Galeazzo crossed to the kitchen, filled 2 glasses with water, brought one to her. Set it on the table. The same way he had before. Offering. Not imposing. Carla took it. Her throat was dry again. Fear did that. Galeazzo sat across from her. Not beside her. Across. Giving her space. Giving her control over proximity. There's something you need to see, he said. He pulled out his phone. Unlocked it. Turned the screen toward her. Carla leaned forward. It was a message thread. Short. Coded. But the images were clear. 3 photos. All of her. The first was from the hotel. The same image they'd seen before. Her hand gripping Galeazzo's suit, their faces close. The second was newer. Taken outside. Blurry, but recognizable. Her getting into the Audi in the alley behind the hotel. The third made her stomach drop. It was from Monaco. Taken through the window of the apartment. Her silhouette. Standing near the glass. Just hours ago. Beneath the images, a single line of text. The maid is the key. Locate and contain. Carla's hands went cold. Contain, she whispered. Galeazzo's voice was tight. Not kill. Contain. Carla looked up at him. They want me alive. Galeazzo nodded. Which means you're not just a witness, he said. You're leverage. Carla's mind raced. She stared at the phrasing again. Locate and contain. It wasn't casual language. It wasn't the kind of thing family members said to each other, even in dangerous families. It was operational. Professional. The kind of phrasing used by people trained to move assets, not threaten rivals. Carla's pulse quickened. She knew that language. She had heard it before. In a different country. A different life. A different cage. This isn't just your family, Carla said quietly. Galeazzo's eyes sharpened. What do you mean? Carla pointed to the screen. That phrasing. Locate and contain. It's not Italian mafia dialect. She paused. It's military. Or intelligence. Galeazzo stared at her. How do you know that? Carla's throat tightened. She'd known this moment would come. The moment where staying silent was more dangerous than speaking. She set the glass down. Met his eyes. Because I used to hear it every day. Galeazzo didn't move. Didn't interrupt. Just waited. Carla exhaled slowly. I wasn't always a maid, she said. Before Italy, I worked in Vienna. In a private estate. She paused, choosing her words carefully. I was hired as a translator. English, Italian, German, some Russian. Galeazzo's gaze didn't waver. But translation wasn't the real job, Carla continued. The real job was listening. Watching. Remembering. Her hands curled into fists. The man who employed me ran a network. Information brokerage. High level. International. She looked away. I didn't ask questions. I just did what I was told. Translated documents. Observed meetings. Stayed quiet. Her voice dropped. Until I realized I wasn't an employee. I was an asset. And assets don't leave. Galeazzo's expression shifted. Not judgment. Understanding. How did you get out? He asked quietly. Carla's jaw tightened. I waited. Learned the routines. The blind spots. And one night, I walked out with nothing but a stolen passport and enough fear to keep me moving for 2 years. She looked back at him. I became a maid because it made me invisible. And invisible meant safe. Galeazzo was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. Carefully. Can I ask you something? Carla nodded. Do you think the man you worked for is connected to this? Carla's stomach twisted. I don't know, she said. But the language matches. The structure matches. She gestured to the phone. Your family might have ordered the hit. But someone else is coordinating it. The realization settled over both of them like a weight. This wasn't just a family power struggle. It was bigger. More organized. More dangerous. When betrayal starts speaking in code you recognize from another life, it means the threat isn't just circling. It's already inside. Galeazzo leaned back. Processed. Then asked the question Carla had been dreading. If they find you, he said, what will they do? Carla's voice was steady. They'll use me to control you. Or to replace you. She paused. Either way, I become the story. Galeazzo's hands curled into fists. Then we changed the story. Carla blinked. How? By exposing the coordination, Galeazzo said. If someone external is advising my family, that's a vulnerability. He stood. Paced. Families protect their own. But they don't protect outsiders who make them look weak. Carla's mind started moving. Faster now. If we can prove your sister or your mother is taking direction from someone outside the family, it delegitimized her claim, Galeazzo finished. He looked at Carla. You said you were trained to observe. To recognize patterns. Carla nodded. Then help me find the pattern, Galeazzo said. Not with violence. With information. Carla felt something shift inside her. For the first time in years, her past wasn't just trauma. It was a tool. A skill. Something useful. I'll need access to the messages, she said. All of them. The timing. The phrasing. The sequence. Galeazzo handed her the phone without hesitation. It's yours. Carla took it. Scrolled. Read. Her eyes moved fast, scanning not for content but for rhythm, for the small inconsistencies that revealed when one voice became two, when influence turned into control. And then she saw it. A phrase buried in the third message. Executive delay advised. Carla's breath caught. Galeazzo noticed. What is it? Carla's voice was barely a whisper. That phrase. Executive delay. She looked up at him. It's not Italian. It's not even translated Italian. Her hands started shaking. It's a phrase my old employer used. Verbatim. Galeazzo went very still. You're sure? Carla nodded. I translated it a dozen times. It was his way of telling clients to wait, to let tension build before moving. Her chest tightened. He's involved. Or someone who worked with him is. The room felt smaller. Colder. Galeazzo sat down across from her again. If he's advising my family, Galeazzo said slowly, then this isn't just about removing me. Carla finished the thought. It's about installing someone he can control. They stared at each other. Two people who'd spent years running from different monsters, only to realize the monsters had joined forces. Galeazzo's voice was low. Dangerous. We need proof. We need more than proof, Carla said. We need to make them turn on each other. Galeazzo's eyes glinted. You think like a strategist. I think like someone who survived by watching powerful people destroy each other, Carla said. She leaned forward. Your family respects strength, but they hate being used. Galeazzo nodded slowly. So we show them they're being played. Exactly. For the first time since the hotel, Carla felt something other than fear. She felt purpose. And Galeazzo saw it. You're not just surviving anymore, he said quietly. Carla met his gaze. Neither are you. The silence between them shifted. No longer careful. No longer distant. Something else. Partnership. Trust. The beginning of something that couldn't be named yet but was already changing the rules. Galeazzo's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression darkened. He turned the screen toward Carla. A new message. A single image. A symbol. Carla's blood went cold. It was small. Geometric. Precise. A mark she'd seen on documents in Vienna. On files she'd translated. On envelopes she wasn't supposed to open. It was her old employer's signature. The proof she'd needed. And the confirmation she'd feared. Her past wasn't just connected to this. It was driving it. Carla's voice came out hoarse. He's here. Galeazzo's jaw tightened. Where? Carla's hands trembled as she stared at the symbol. I don't know, she whispered. But if he's using that mark, it means he's close. She looked up at Galeazzo. And it means he's been watching me the whole time. Morning came too fast. Carla woke on the sofa, still dressed, a blanket draped over her that she didn't remember pulling up. Galeazzo was already awake, seated at the table, phone in one hand, espresso in the other. He looked like he hadn't slept. Carla sat up slowly, muscles stiff, mind still catching up to where she was. Monaco. Safe house. Not safe anymore. Galeazzo glanced over. There's coffee, he said. Carla nodded. Stood. Walked to the kitchen. Poured herself a cup. The silence between them wasn't comfortable. It was loaded. Carla could feel the tension radiating off him like heat. She sat across from him. Waited. Finally, Galeazzo spoke. I made some calls last night. Carla sipped her coffee. And my people want me to respond, he said. Publicly. Decisively. Carla's stomach tightened. What does that mean? Galeazzo set his phone down. It means they want me to make an example. Show strength. Remind people what happens when you come after a fairy. His voice was flat. Empty. Carla's chest tightened. You don't want to do that. Galeazzo looked at her. No, he said. I don't. He paused. But everyone around me is telling me it's the only move that makes sense. Carla leaned forward. If you become them, she said quietly, you lose yourself. Galeazzo's jaw tensed. And if I don't, I lose everything else. Carla shook her head. You don't know that. Yes, I do. His voice was sharper now. I've seen what happens to men in my position who choose compassion over control. They get replaced. Or buried. He stood. Paced. I was raised for this, Carla. Trained for it. My father didn't teach me how to be loved. He taught me how to be useful. The words hit like stones. Carla's throat tightened. That's not the same thing as being whole. Galeazzo stopped. Turned to face her. No, he said. It's not. His voice cracked. Just slightly. But whole doesn't survive in my world. Carla stood. Walked toward him. Stopped a few feet away. Close enough to be heard. Far enough to give him space. Then maybe, she said softly, you need to change the world you're in. Galeazzo stared at her. Like she'd just suggested something impossible. Or dangerous. Or both. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression shifted. We need to move, he said. Carla's pulse spiked. Why? They're escalating, Galeazzo said. My contact just flagged unusual activity near the building. He looked at her. Someone's watching. Carla's hands went cold. How close? Close enough. Galeazzo grabbed his jacket. Tossed Carla a coat from the closet. We're going out. Publicly. Controlled environment. Carla pulled the coat on. Why publicly? Because private makes you vulnerable, Galeazzo said. Public makes you visible. And visible means witnesses. He opened the door. Gestured for her to follow. Stay close. They left the apartment. Took the elevator down. Stepped onto the street. Monaco in daylight was a different animal. Sunlight bouncing off white stone. Tourists with cameras. Expensive cars sliding past like sharks. Galeazzo walked with purpose. Not rushed. Not panicked. Just steady. Carla matched his pace. Her eyes scanned the street. The cafe across the road. The black sedan idling 2 blocks down. The man in the linen jacket pretending to read a newspaper. Her heart hammered. Galeazzo's hand brushed hers. Just once. A signal. I see it too. They turned a corner. Entered a small plaza. Outdoor seating. Umbrellas. Espresso and pastries and the low hum of French and Italian blending in the air. Galeazzo chose a table in the center. Not the edge. Not the corner. The center. Where everyone could see them. Where no one could approach without being noticed. They sat. Ordered coffee neither of them wanted. And waited. Carla's hands were shaking under the table. She pressed them flat against her thighs. Focused on breathing. In. Out. Steady. Then she saw him. The man in the linen jacket. He'd followed them. He stood near the entrance to the plaza. Not moving. Just watching. Carla's breath caught. Galeazzo noticed. Don't look, he said quietly. I know. Galeazzo's hand slid across the table. Not grabbing. Just resting near hers. An offer. Carla's fingers moved. Curled around his. The man in the linen jacket didn't approach. He just stood there. Watching. Making sure they knew. Then he turned. And walked away. Carla's grip tightened. Galeazzo didn't pull back. He wasn't here to take you, Galeazzo said. Just to remind you that they can. Carla's voice was hoarse. This is what my life looks like now. Galeazzo's jaw tightened. Not if I can help it. Carla pulled her hand back. You can't lock me away, Galeazzo. His eyes sharpened. I'm trying to protect you. Protection isn't control, Carla said. Her voice was firmer now. I've been controlled before. I know what it looks like. And I won't survive it again. Galeazzo stared at her. Conflict written across his face. So what do you want me to do? He asked. Just let them circle you? Let them get close. I want you to trust me, Carla said. I want you to stop treating me like something fragile that needs to be hidden. She leaned forward. I'm not fragile. I'm terrified. But I'm not breakable. Galeazzo's expression cracked. Just for a moment. And Carla saw it. The fear beneath the control. The desperation beneath the strategy. He wasn't trying to cage her. He was trying not to lose her. The difference between protection and possession is whether the person being kept safe still gets to choose. Galeazzo exhaled. Slow. Controlled. Then he did something Carla didn't expect. He leaned back. Gave her space. And spoke quietly. You're right. Carla blinked. I'm what? You're right, Galeazzo repeated. I can't control this. I can't lock you away and call it safety. He looked at her. Really looked. I'm sorry. Carla's chest tightened. Men like Galeazzo didn't apologize. They justified. Explained. Deflected. But Galeazzo had just admitted he was wrong. And that changed everything. I don't know how to do this, he said quietly. I don't know how to care about someone without trying to control the outcome. Carla's voice softened. You start by asking, not deciding. Galeazzo nodded slowly. Okay. He paused. What do you need? Carla's throat tightened. No one had asked her that in years. I need to know I can still walk away, she said. Even if I don't want to. Galeazzo's gaze didn't waver. You can. And I need to be part of the plan, Carla continued. Not just protected from it. Galeazzo's mouth almost curved. Almost. Deal. They sat in the sunlight. Two people who'd survived by being invisible. By being controlled. By learning that safety meant silence. And now they were choosing something different. Something harder. Something that required trust instead of walls. Galeazzo's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression darkened. He turned the screen toward Carla. A message. From an unknown number. But the words were clear. Carla, we should talk. Alone. I can offer you something Galeazzo can't. Safety. Freedom. A way out. You have 24 hours to decide. Julia. Carla's breath stopped. Galeazzo's sister. Offering her a deal. Offering her an exit. Offering her exactly what she'd spent years running toward. Freedom. Invisibility. Escape. Carla looked up at Galeazzo. His face was unreadable. But his voice was steady. What do you want to do? Carla stared at the message. At the offer. At the door that had just opened in front of her. And realized that for the first time in her life, walking away felt like the wrong choice. Not because she was trapped. But because staying meant something. I want to hear what she has to say, Carla said quietly. Galeazzo's eyes widened. Just slightly. You're going to meet her? Carla nodded. But not because I'm taking the deal. She looked at him. Because I want to know what she's really after. Galeazzo stared at her. Then slowly, carefully, he smiled. Not the controlled mask. Not the polite distance. A real smile. You're dangerous, he said. Carla's mouth twitched. I learned from the best. And for the first time since the hotel, they weren't just surviving. They were fighting back. Together. The meeting was set for noon. A cafe on the French side of the border. Neutral ground. Public enough to be safe. Private enough to talk. Galeazzo didn't try to stop Carla from going. But he didn't let her go alone either. He positioned two of his people nearby. Not close enough to hear. Close enough to intervene. Carla wore the coat he'd given her. Simple. Dark. Anonymous. She arrived 10 minutes early. Chose a table near the window. Ordered coffee she wouldn't drink. And waited. Julia Ferry arrived exactly on time. Carla recognized her immediately. Not from a photo. From the way she moved. Confident. Controlled. The kind of woman who walked into rooms and expected them to rearrange themselves around her. She was younger than Galeazzo. Early 30s maybe. Tailored navy dress. Minimal jewelry. Hair pulled back in a way that looked effortless but wasn't. She smiled as she approached. Warm. Disarming. Carla didn't trust it. Carla, Julia said, extending a hand. Carla shook it. Briefly. Julia sat. Ordered an espresso without looking at the menu. Then turned her full attention to Carla. Thank you for meeting me, Julia said. Her voice was softer than Carla expected. Almost kind. I wasn't sure you would. Carla kept her expression neutral. You said you had something to offer. Julia smiled. Direct. I appreciate that. She leaned back. Studied Carla like she was appraising a painting. You're not what I expected, Julia said. Carla didn't respond. Julia continued. My brother has a habit of surrounding himself with people who defer. Who follow. Who don't challenge him. She paused. But you're different. Carla's pulse steadied. She knew manipulation when she heard it. What do you want, Julia? Julia's smile didn't falter. I want to help you. Carla's jaw tightened. Help me how? Julia leaned forward. Her voice dropped. Intimate. Conspiratorial. Galeazzo is in over his head. You know that. I know that. And the people circling him know it too. She paused. He's trying to hold on to something that's already slipping away. And when it falls, everyone near him will fall with it. Carla's chest tightened. Julia continued. But you don't have to fall, Carla. You didn't choose this life. You stumbled into it trying to do the right thing. Her eyes softened. You deserve better than to become collateral damage in a family war. Carla's hands curled into fists under the table. What exactly are you offering? Julia's voice was calm. Help me. Carla blinked. Help you do what? Step back, Julia said. Let Galeazzo make his own choices without interference. Let him face the consequences of trying to change something that can't be changed. She paused. And in return, I will personally guarantee your safety. A new identity. Relocation. Enough money to start over anywhere in the world. Carla's breath caught. It was everything she'd wanted 2 years ago. Everything she'd built her invisible life to protect. Freedom. Safety. Escape. Julia watched her closely. You're thinking about it, she said softly. I can see it. Carla didn't deny it. Because it was true. The offer was seductive. Not because it was cruel. But because it was kind. Because it gave Carla permission to do what she'd always done. Run. Survive. Disappear. But then Julia said something that changed everything. Galeazzo will understand, she said. Eventually. She leaned back. He's always understood that people leave. It's what he's been trained to expect. And there it was. The truth beneath the kindness. Julia wasn't offering Carla freedom. She was offering Galeazzo proof. Proof that no one stayed. Proof that trust was weakness. Proof that he was right to build walls instead of bridges. When someone offers you freedom in exchange for breaking another person's faith in humanity, they're not saving you. They're recruiting you. Carla's voice was steady. You don't want me gone because you're worried about my safety. Julia's smile thinned. Just slightly. You want me gone, Carla continued, because I make Galeazzo believe he can be something other than what your family made him. Julia didn't deny it. She just watched. Carla leaned forward. And that scares you. Julia's expression hardened. The warmth vanished. You're naive, Julia said. You think love is going to save him. It won't. Her voice sharpened. He's a fairy. That's not something you choose. It's something you are. And no amount of sentimentality will change that. Carla's chest tightened. But her voice stayed calm. Maybe not, she said. But at least I'm not trying to prove he's broken just so I can take his place. Julia's jaw clenched. Silence. Then Julia stood. Smoothed her dress. You're making a mistake, she said. Carla looked up at her. Maybe. But it's mine to make. Julia's eyes flashed. When this falls apart, she said quietly, don't expect me to offer again. She turned. Walked out. Carla sat alone at the table. Heart pounding. Hands shaking. But she'd made her choice. And for the first time in years, it wasn't the safe one. Carla returned to the Monaco apartment an hour later. Galeazzo was waiting. He looked up as she entered. Didn't ask. Just waited. Carla closed the door behind her. She offered me a way out, Carla said. Galeazzo's expression didn't change. And I said no. Galeazzo exhaled. Slow. Controlled. Like he'd been holding his breath since she left. Why? He asked quietly. Carla walked toward him. Stopped a few feet away. Because she wasn't offering me freedom, Carla said. She was offering you proof that no one stays. Galeazzo's eyes closed. Just for a second. When he opened them, they were raw. I expected betrayal, he said. I've been trained for it my whole life. His voice cracked. But I didn't expect them to use you as the weapon. Carla's throat tightened. I'm not a weapon, Galeazzo. I know. He looked at her. Really looked. That's what makes it worse. Carla stepped closer. I didn't stay because I'm loyal to your name, she said. I stayed because I'm loyal to you. Galeazzo's breath hitched. Carla. And because, she continued, I think we're stronger together than we are running in opposite directions. Galeazzo stared at her. Then he did something she didn't expect. He reached for her hand. Slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their fingers laced together. And for a moment, the world outside didn't matter. Then Carla's phone buzzed. She pulled it out. A message. From an unknown number. She opened it. Her blood went cold. It was a forwarded conversation. Between Julia and someone else. The contact name was just initials. But the content was clear. Mother didn't authorize the first move. She's furious. Wants to meet. Alone. To correct the mistake. Carla's hands trembled. She turned the phone toward Galeazzo. He read it. His face went pale. The matriarch didn't approve the hit, Carla whispered. Galeazzo's jaw tightened. Which means Julia moved without permission. Carla nodded. And now your mother knows. Galeazzo stood. Paced. If my mother is calling it a mistake, he said slowly, she's not talking about the failed attempt. Carla's stomach dropped. She's talking about the power play. Galeazzo nodded. Julia overstepped. And in my family, that's worse than failure. He looked at Carla. My mother doesn't punish disloyalty to me. She punishes disloyalty to the structure. Carla's pulse raced. What does that mean for us? Galeazzo's voice was grim. It means we just became valuable again. He paused. But only if we play this right. Carla's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, just 3 words. She wants you. Carla's breath caught. Galeazzo read over her shoulder. His face darkened. My mother wants to meet you, he said quietly. Carla looked up at him. Why? Galeazzo's voice was tight. Because you're the piece no one expected. And my mother doesn't like surprises. He paused. She wants to see if you're an asset. Carla swallowed. Or a threat. Galeazzo nodded. And Carla realized, standing in the quiet of a Monaco apartment that was no longer safe, that she'd just stepped into the center of a family war. Not as a bystander. As a player. Galeazzo spent the next 2 days making arrangements. Calls in Italian. Calls in French. Calls in languages Carla didn't recognize. He was building something. A strategy. A return. Carla watched from the edges of the apartment, quiet, observing the way he moved between versions of himself. The son. The heir. The strategist. The man who was trying not to become the monster everyone expected. On the 3rd morning, he told her. I'm going back to Italy. Carla looked up from the window where she'd been watching the harbor. When? 2 days, Galeazzo said. Maybe 3. He stood near the kitchen. Coffee untouched, posture rigid. I need to face my mother. Reclaim my position before Julia consolidates hers. Carla's chest tightened. And then what? Galeazzo hesitated. Then I rebuild. Stabilize. Make it clear that what happened was unauthorized. He paused. And make sure it doesn't happen again. Carla's voice was quiet. By becoming what they want you to be. Galeazzo's jaw tensed. By doing what's necessary. Carla turned fully to face him. And what about after that? What happens when the next threat comes? The next challenge? Galeazzo's eyes narrowed. I handle it. How? Carla pressed. With fear? With control? With the same tools your mother uses. Galeazzo's voice rose. Just slightly. What do you want me to do, Carla? Walk away? Let my sister take over and turn everything into exactly what I've been trying to prevent. Carla stepped closer. I want you to change it without becoming it. Galeazzo stared at her. That's not possible. Why not? Because that's not how power works in my world, Galeazzo said. You either take control or someone takes it from you. Carla's voice shook. Then maybe your world is the problem. Silence. Heavy. Thick. Galeazzo's hands curled into fists at his sides. You don't understand what you're asking. I understand perfectly, Carla said. You're asking me to stay. To build a life with you. To trust that you won't become the thing that destroys us both. Her voice cracked. But I can't do that if you're walking back into a cycle that swallowed my entire childhood. Galeazzo's expression shifted. What do you mean? Carla's throat tightened. She hadn't said it out loud before. Not all of it. The man I worked for in Vienna, she said slowly. He wasn't just an employer. He was family to someone I loved. She paused. My father worked for him first. And when my father couldn't pay his debts, I became the payment. Galeazzo's face went pale. Carla continued, voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. I watched my father choose survival over me. Watched him justify it. Rationalize it. Tell himself it was temporary. Her hands shook. It wasn't. She looked at Galeazzo. I spent years trapped in that cycle. And I swore when I got out that I would never let someone else's power decide my life again. Galeazzo's voice was hoarse. I'm not him. I know, Carla said. But if you go back and become what they want, you won't be you anymore either. Galeazzo turned away, pressed his palms flat against the counter. His shoulders rose and fell with each breath. If I don't go back, he said quietly, my mother will assume I'm weak. Julia will take over. And everything I've tried to build, every structure, every agreement, every attempt at something different, it all collapses. Carla's voice was soft. And if you do go back and win by their rules, you'll have power. But you'll lose yourself. Galeazzo's head dropped. So either way, I lose. Carla stepped closer. Close enough to touch. But she didn't. Not yet. Not if you choose a third option. Galeazzo looked up. What third option? You go back, Carla said. But not to reclaim power. To expose what's broken. To show your mother and everyone watching that Julia acted without authorization. That she's the liability, not you. She paused. You don't fight for control. You fight for accountability. Galeazzo stared at her. That's not how my family works. Then make it work differently, Carla said. Her voice was stronger now. You said you wanted to build something better. So build it. Even if it's messy. Even if it's risky. Galeazzo's eyes searched hers. And if it fails? Then at least you'll fail as yourself, Carla said. Not as someone they made you. The weight of her words settled between them. Galeazzo exhaled. Slow. Controlled. Then he crossed the space between them. Stood close. Not touching. Just close. I don't know how to do this, he said quietly. Carla's voice was gentle. Do what? Love someone, Galeazzo said. Without trying to control the outcome. Carla's breath caught. It was the first time he'd said the word. Love. Galeazzo continued, voice raw. You're the first person who's ever looked at me and seen a man. Not a name. Not a weapon. Not a tool. His eyes glistened. And I don't know how to protect that without destroying it. Carla's chest ached. She reached up. Slowly. Giving him time to step back. He didn't. Her hand rested against his cheek. Warm. Steady. You protect it, she said softly, by letting me choose to stay. Not because I'm trapped. But because I want to. Galeazzo's hand came up. Covered hers. And if I can't guarantee your safety? Carla's voice was firm. Then we face it together. As equals. She paused. Not as protector and protected. As partners. Galeazzo closed his eyes. Leaned into her touch. And for the first time since she'd met him, Carla saw him let go. Not of control. Of the belief that he had to carry everything alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't winning the fight. It's admitting you don't have to fight it alone. They stood like that for a long moment. Quiet. Close. Safe in a way that had nothing to do with walls or distance or control. Then Galeazzo spoke. If I do this your way, he said quietly, and it falls apart. Then we rebuild, Carla said. Together. Galeazzo opened his eyes. Looked at her. Really looked. You make it sound simple. Carla smiled. Soft. Sad. It's not simple. It's just the only way forward that doesn't destroy us both. Galeazzo nodded slowly. Then he pulled her close. Not possessive. Not desperate. Just close. And Carla let herself be held. Let herself believe, just for a moment, that maybe they could survive this. That maybe love wasn't a liability. Maybe it was the only thing strong enough to break the cycle. That night, Carla couldn't sleep. She lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, mind racing. Galeazzo was planning his return. And Carla knew, deep down, that no matter what he promised, Going back to Italy meant stepping into a world that didn't forgive softness. She thought about Giulia's offer, about the escape she'd turned down, about how easy it would be to disappear, to run, to survive. Quietly, Carla got out of bed, pulled a small bag from the closet, started folding clothes. Not everything, just enough, just in case. She didn't hear Galeazzo until he spoke. Carla. She froze, turned. He stood in the doorway, barefoot, eyes shadowed, staring at the bag on the bed. Neither of them spoke. Galeazzo's voice was barely a whisper. Are you leaving? Carla's throat closed. She looked at the bag, at the man in the doorway, at the choice she'd been trying to avoid. I don't know, she said honestly. Galeazzo stepped into the room. Slowly, carefully. If you want to go, he said, voice tight, I won't stop you. Carla's hands trembled. I don't want to go. Then why are you packing? Carla's voice broke. Because I'm terrified. She looked at him. I'm terrified that if you go back, you'll become someone I don't recognize. And I won't be able to save you. Or myself. Galeazzo's jaw clenched. He crossed the room, stood in front of her, close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the fear he never showed anyone else. I'm terrified too, he said quietly. Carla blinked. Of what? Of losing you, Galeazzo said. Not to danger. Not to my family. He paused. To fear. His hand reached out, cupped her face. Gentle. Reverent. So tell me, he whispered. What do we do? Carla's breath shook. She looked into his eyes. At the man who'd offered her freedom. Who'd given her choice. Who'd let her see him break without trying to hide it. And she made her decision. Not the safe one. The real one. We stop running, Carla said. Both of us. Galeazzo's eyes searched hers. And then. Carla's voice was steady. Then we fight. Together. Galeazzo exhaled. Pulled her close. And Carla let the bag fall to the floor. Forgotten. Because sometimes survival isn't about having an escape plan. It's about choosing to stay. Even when staying is the scariest choice of all. Morning came quiet. Too quiet. Carla woke with Galeazzo's arms still around her, his breath steady against her shoulder, the weight of the night before still pressing down on both of them. She hadn't left. The bag was still on the floor. Forgotten. But the fear hadn't disappeared. It had just shifted. From whether she would run, to whether he would. Galeazzo stirred, opened his eyes. For a moment, he just looked at her. Like he was memorizing her face. Like he knew something was coming. Good morning, he said quietly. Carla's throat tightened. Morning. Galeazzo sat up slowly. Ran a hand through his hair. His phone was on the nightstand. Silent. But present. Always present. He reached for it. Checked the screen. His expression darkened. Carla's stomach dropped. What is it? Galeazzo didn't answer immediately. He just stared at the screen. Then he set the phone down. Looked at her. My mother wants an answer. Carla's pulse quickened. What kind of answer? Whether I'm coming home, Galeazzo said. Or whether I'm choosing exile. His voice was flat. Empty. Carla sat up. Pulled the blanket around her shoulders. And what did you tell her? Nothing yet, Galeazzo said. He stood. Walked to the window. Stared out at the harbor. At the yachts. At the water stretching toward a horizon he couldn't see. If I go back, he said quietly, I reclaim my position. I stabilize the family. I stop Giulia from turning everything into chaos. He paused. But I do it their way. With their rules. Their methods. Carla's chest ached. And if you don't? Galeazzo's jaw tightened. Then I lose everything. The name. The resources. The protection. He turned to face her. And so do you. Carla's breath caught. You think I care about protection that comes with chains? Galeazzo's eyes darkened. I think you care about surviving. Carla stood. Crossed the room. Stopped in front of him. I survived before I met you, she said quietly. I'll survive after, if it comes to that. Her voice shook. But I can't watch you disappear into blood and fear and tell myself it's love. Galeazzo stared at her. Carla. I love you, she said. The words came out raw. Unpolished. True. I love you, Galeazzo. Not your name. Not your power. You. Her eyes filled. And that's why I can't stay if you choose to become what they want. Galeazzo's face cracked. Just slightly. You're asking me to choose between you and everything I've ever known. Carla's voice was firm. I'm asking you to choose between the man you are and the weapon they made you. She paused. And I know that's not fair. I know it's impossible. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But it's the only choice that matters. Galeazzo closed his eyes. His hands curled into fists. Then released. When he opened his eyes again, they were wet. Power has always owned me, he said quietly. Since I was a child. Since before I understood what it meant. He swallowed. I've never had a choice that was mine. Every decision I've made has been calculated against legacy, against expectation, against survival. He looked at her. Until you. Carla's breath hitched. You're the first person, Galeazzo continued, who's ever asked me to choose myself. His voice broke. And I don't know if I know how. Carla stepped closer. Took his hands in hers. Then learn, she whispered. With me. Galeazzo stared at their joined hands. At the contrast. Her small fingers wrapped around his. Steady. Anchoring. If I walk away from my family, he said slowly, I can't protect you the way I could before. Carla's voice was steady. I don't need you to protect me like a fortress. I need you to trust me like a partner. Galeazzo's grip tightened. And if it's not enough, then we figure it out, Carla said. Together. Sometimes the only way to prove love isn't control is to choose the person over the power that promised to keep them safe. Galeazzo exhaled. Long. Slow. Like he was releasing years of weight. Then he made his choice. I'm not going back, he said. Carla's heart stopped. What? I'm not going back to Reggio Calabria, Galeazzo said. Not on their terms. Not to reclaim a throne that requires me to become someone you can't love. His eyes held hers. I'm choosing you. Carla's chest ached. Galeazzo. But, he interrupted gently, I need you to know what that means. He stepped back. Just slightly. Giving her space. It means we disappear. Really disappear. No name. No resources. No protection except what we build ourselves. He paused. It means starting over. Completely. Carla stared at him. You'd give up everything? I'd give up everything that isn't you, Galeazzo said simply. His voice was calm. Certain. Because power without you is just another cage. Carla's tears spilled over. She didn't try to stop them. Galeazzo reached up. Wiped them away with his thumb. Gentle. Reverent. If you still want to leave after this, he said quietly, I will not stop you. He paused. But I need you to know, I'm not choosing you because I'm trapped. I'm choosing you because you're the first thing in my life that feels like freedom. Carla's breath shook. She looked at him. At the man who'd been raised as a weapon. Who'd been taught that compassion was weakness. Who was choosing her anyway. I'm not leaving, she whispered. Galeazzo's eyes closed. Relief flooded his face. He pulled her close. Held her like she was the only solid thing in a world that had just shifted beneath his feet. And for a moment, they just stood there. Two people who'd survived by being invisible. By being controlled. By learning that safety meant silence. Now choosing to be seen. To be free. To be together. Then Galeazzo's phone rang. The sound cut through the quiet like a blade. Galeazzo pulled back. Looked at the screen. His face went pale. It's her, he said. Carla's stomach dropped. Your mother. Galeazzo nodded. He stared at the phone. At the name flashing on the screen. Mama. Carla's voice was quiet. You don't have to answer. Galeazzo's jaw tightened. If I don't, she'll escalate. He paused. She needs to hear it from me. Carla stepped back. Gave him space. Galeazzo answered. Put it on speaker. The matriarch's voice filled the room. Calm. Controlled. Deadly. Galeazzo. Mama. A pause. Then her voice again. Softer now. But no warmer. I've been patient. Galeazzo's hand tightened around the phone. I know. Your sister has made her position clear, the matriarch continued. And the family is waiting for yours. She paused. Come home. Reclaim what's yours. Or lose everything. Galeazzo closed his eyes. Carla watched his face. Saw the conflict. The fear. The weight of a choice that would reshape his entire life. Then Galeazzo opened his eyes. Looked at Carla. And spoke. I'm not coming home, Mama. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Then the matriarch's voice. Cold as winter. Then you've made your choice. The line went dead. Galeazzo set the phone down. Slowly. Carefully. His hands were shaking. Carla crossed the room. Took his hand. Are you okay? Galeazzo's laugh was bitter. I just walked away from everything. He looked at her. I don't know if I'm okay, but I know I'm free. Carla's chest ached. She pulled him close. And they stood there. In the quiet. In the aftermath. In the beginning of something new and terrifying in theirs. Then Galeazzo's phone buzzed. Once. A message. He picked it up. Read it. His face went white. Carla's pulse spiked. What? Galeazzo turned the screen toward her. A single line of text. From his mother. If you choose her, you become the enemy. And enemies don't get mercy. Carla's blood ran cold. Galeazzo's voice was hollow. She's not going to let this go. Carla swallowed. Then we run. Galeazzo looked at her. For how long? Carla's voice was steady despite the fear. As long as it takes. Galeazzo stared at her. Then slowly he nodded. But before either of them could move, Carla spoke. Her voice barely a whisper. Galeazzo. He looked at her. She took a breath. And asked the question that would decide everything. Are you going to choose me, or the man they made you? Galeazzo didn't answer right away. Carla's words hung between them. Heavy, unforgiving. A life of running. A life of blood debts and unfinished wars. A life where peace never lasted longer than a breath. Or her. A future that scared him more than any enemy ever had. A home instead of a fortress. Love instead of legacy. His eyes closed. Not in relief. In conflict. Because choosing Carla meant betraying the empire that made him. And choosing the empire meant becoming the man she was begging him not to be. Outside, the harbor lights flickered against the glass. Inside, everything waited. So now the question isn't his. It's yours. What do you think he should choose? Should Galeazzo choose Carla and walk away from the only life he's ever known? Or should he choose the world that forged him? No matter the cost? Tell me in the comments what you think he should do. And if you want to see what happens next, comment part 2. If you want a part 2, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the Diaries of Love.